There's something almost magical about standing before the ancient walls of a fortress, isn't there? These stone giants have stood for centuries, silent witnesses to wars, intrigues, and secrets long buried. But what if I told you that the most fascinating stories aren't written in the history books, they're hidden in the shadows, tucked away in corridors most visitors never see. Behind every weathered stone and rusted gate, there's a world of mystery waiting to be uncovered. Today, we're stepping off the beaten path and into the secret heart of these ancient fortresses, where hidden chambers whisper tales of escape, betrayal, and treasures lost to time. Picture this, a narrow staircase spiraling downward, so well concealed that even the most observant eye might miss it, or a chamber buried deep beneath the earth, its walls lined with symbols no one has fully deciphered. These aren't just architectural quirks, they're proof of the ingenuity and cunning of the people who built them. Some were designed as last resort escape routes for kings under siege. Others held vaults of gold, protected by traps and legends meant to deter thieves. And then there are the spaces whose purposes remain a mystery, leaving us to wonder, were they prisons, secret meeting places, or something even more extraordinary? This isn't just a tour of old buildings. It's a journey into the minds of the engineers, rulers, and rebels who shaped history from behind these walls. We'll unravel how these hidden spaces were constructed, why they were kept secret, and what they reveal about the people who relied on them. Along the way, we'll encounter chilling legends, real-life escapes that defied the odds, and even a few mysteries that still puzzle historians today. So if you've ever wondered what lies beyond the main halls of these ancient fortresses, get ready, because the truth is far more fascinating than you might imagine. The stones are waiting to tell their stories. All we have to do is listen. Imagine a fortress under siege, its towering walls surrounded by enemy forces. The defenders appear trapped, outnumbered but unseen beneath their feet. A web of hidden tunnels hums with quiet activity. These secret passages weren't just architectural flourishes, they were survival tools crafted with precision to outwit invaders. Take the legendary escape tunnels of Malta's Fort St. Elmo, for instance. During the Great Siege of 1565, knights slipped through these shadowy corridors to deliver messages, ferry supplies, and even launch surprise attacks. Without them, the fortress might have fallen in weeks, but escape routes were just one piece of the puzzle. Some hidden passages served as ears for those in power. Beneath the grand halls of Scotland's Edinburgh Castle, narrow staircases spiral upward to listening posts, tiny chambers where servants or guards could eavesdrop on guests. A whispered plot, a secret alliance, even a careless insult, nothing was truly private. These spaces weren't just about defense, they were instruments of control, turning stone walls into tools of deception. Then there were the passages shrouded in ritual. Beneath Turkey's Derinkuyu, an entire underground city stretches 12 stories deep, its hidden chapels and baptismal fonts hinting at clandestine worship. For persecuted communities, these spaces weren't just shelters, they were sacred. The very act of concealment transformed them into something transcendent. What's truly remarkable is how these designs varied across cultures. In Japan, ninja castles boasted nightingale floors that chirped like birds underfoot, alerting defenders to intruders. Meanwhile, Rajasthan's forts concealed entire lakes within their walls, ensuring water supplies during droughts. Each solution reflects not just engineering skill, but a deep understanding of human nature, fear, ingenuity, even faith. The genius of these hidden networks lies in their duality. They were both shield and sword, sanctuary and spy hole. And while their original builders are long gone, their legacies endure, not just in stone, but in the stories of those who outsmarted destiny within these secret walls. Building a hidden chamber wasn't just about digging a hole and covering it up. It was a high-stakes game of architectural deception. Take those false walls, for instance. At first glance, they looked identical to the surrounding stonework, but the slightest pressure on the right brick could make an entire section pivot silently, revealing a passage. Craftsmen achieved this by carving hinges directly into the stone, balancing panels so precisely that even a gentle nudge could swing them open. Some were so well hidden that servants might pass them daily for years without ever noticing. Then there were the rotating bookcases, a favorite in medieval European castles. These weren't just decorative, they were functional masterpieces. The mechanism relied on hidden counterweights, often concealed in hollow columns or beneath floorboards. Pulling the right book would trigger the system, causing the entire shelf to rotate smoothly, like a door on an invisible axis. The genius of these designs. They didn't just hide the entrance, they made it blend into everyday life. But perhaps the most impressive feats were the tunnels carved straight into bedrock. In places like the Rock of Gibraltar, workers chiseled through solid limestone, often by candlelight, creating networks that ran for hundreds of feet. The real challenge wasn't just excavation, it was ventilation. Builders engineered narrow air shafts disguised as natural fissures, ensuring fresh air reached deep into the earth without betraying the tunnel's location. And let's not forget the pulley systems. In India's Gwalior Fort, historians believe heavy stone doors were operated by ropes and counterweights, allowing them to open or close with minimal effort. The ropes themselves were likely hidden in grooves or behind false panels, leaving no trace of the mechanism. What's astonishing is how these techniques varied by region. While European builders favored mechanical tricks, Middle Eastern architects often used geometry. In Syria's crack des chevaliers, curved corridors and staggered doorways created blind spots, making it nearly impossible for intruders to navigate without being seen. These weren't just hiding places, they were triumphs of ingenuity, proving that ancient engineers rivaled modern ones in creativity and precision, and the fact that many remained undiscovered for centuries. That's the ultimate testament to their skill. The Tower of London's blood-stained history isn't just written in its execution logs, it's carved into the very stones of its secret passages. When high-profile prisoners like Bishop Ralph de Baldock were held within its walls in the 14th century, they didn't just wait for fate to find them. Behind innocuous-looking panels, a labyrinth of narrow staircases and hidden doors offered fleeting chances at freedom. One of the most famous, the Bloody Tower's escape route, was so cleverly concealed that it remained undiscovered for centuries, its entrance disguised as part of the original medieval masonry. Half a world away, India's Gwalior Fort takes secrecy to an astonishing scale. Beneath its sun-baked courtyards, a subterranean network stretches over 9 miles, some tunnels wide enough to march elephants through. Local legends claim these passages were used to spirit royal families to safety during invasions, their walls lined with niches for torches still blackened by smoke after 500 years. But what's truly remarkable is how these tunnels doubled as psychological weapons. Invaders might seize the fort above ground, never realizing an entire army could be moving beneath their feet, ready to strike from below. Then there's Japan's Himeji Castle, where deception was woven into every beam. The White Heron isn't just beautiful, it's a masterpiece of defensive trickery. Its so-called suicide doors weren't for despairing samurai, as myths suggest. but were actually drop gates designed to trap attackers in killing zones. Meanwhile, hidden floors between main levels created spaces for archers to ambush invaders who thought they'd cleared a room. Even the castle's famous white plaster walls had a secret purpose. Their lime mixture made them fire-resistant, a detail lost on enemies who assumed they could smoke out defenders. What ties these fortresses together isn't just their hidden mechanics, it's the mindset behind them. In Europe, secrecy often served individual survival. In India, it scaled to protect entire dynasties, and in Japan, it became a form of theatrical warfare, where every architectural detail played a role in outthinking the enemy. These weren't just buildings, they were chessboards made of stone, where every hidden passage was a gambit waiting to unfold. The real marvel, how many of these secrets were so well guarded that they outlasted the empires that built them. Some tunnels at Gwalior were only rediscovered in the 1980s when heavy rains caused a collapse. At Himeji, restorers still occasionally find compartments behind walls empty now, but hinting at what might once have been stashed there. And the Tower of London, historians suspect there are still passages waiting to be found, their entrances smoothed over by time, but their stories far from over. Windsor Castle's so-called haunted gallery hides more than ghost stories. Behind its ornate paneling, a narrow staircase winds downward, emerging near the river, a lifeline for kings facing rebellion. When Henry III faced baronial revolts in the 13th century, these passages weren't just convenient, they were the difference between survival and a very public downfall. But not all hidden corridors led to freedom. Beneath castles like Château de Brissac in France, spiral staircases descended into oubliettes, tiny, windowless pits whose name comes from the French word oublier, meaning to forget. Once dropped into these stone cylinders, prisoners vanished from record, left to starve in darkness. The irony, many escape routes and prisons were built by the same hands. Skilled masons crafted dual-purpose systems, their work funded by rulers who understood power's fragility. Take Scotland's Craigmillar Castle, where a discreet door in the Lord's Chamber opens onto a passage wide enough for one person, ideal for slipping away unseen. Yet just floors below, vaulted cells held captives whose muffled screams couldn't pierce the thick stone. This duality reveals a cold truth. Ancient fortresses weren't just shelters. They were stage sets where rulers controlled narratives of who lived, who died, and who simply disappeared. Some escapes entered legend. Austria's Burg Hohenwürfen claims its hidden tunnels aided a 15th century duke who fled disguised as a merchant, his face smeared with soot to avoid recognition. But for every triumphant tale, there's a chilling counterpoint. In Warwick Castle's dungeons, grooves in the walls suggest chains for prisoners kept just out of sight, close enough to hear courtly celebrations above, yet utterly cut off from mercy. What's most haunting isn't the engineering, but the psychology behind it. A king's secret door often mirrored a prisoner's hidden cell, two sides of the same coin. One represented hope, the other hopelessness. Both proved that in these stone labyrinths, visibility meant vulnerability, and the best protection was staying unseen. Modern archaeologists still debate how often these passages were used. Some tunnels show little wear, suggesting they were more deterrent than practical escape. Others, like Windsor's, bear centuries of scuff marks, silent witnesses to panicked footsteps. Perhaps that's the real secret. These corridors weren't just physical spaces. They were psychological weapons, their very existence a reminder that in the game of power, the safest move was always the one no one saw coming. Treasure vaults weren't just storage rooms, they were fortresses within fortresses, designed to outwit even the most determined thieves. Take the legendary chamber hidden beneath Corvin Castle in Romania, discovered purely by accident during renovations in the 1970s. workers knocking down a wall stumbled into a space no one had entered for centuries, its floor littered with gold coins and gemstones that had slipped through cracks in long rotted chests. The real shock, this wasn't even the main treasury, just a secondary stash, suggesting far greater wealth still lies concealed behind walls too cleverly constructed to reveal their secrets. Ancient engineers treated treasure security like a high-stakes puzzle. In India's Gwalior Fort, the acoustics of its grand corridors played a cruel trick on would-be looters. A handclap near the Diamond Vault's entrance would echo precisely to a guard post half a mile away, turning sound itself into an alarm system. Meanwhile, Rajasthan's Gwalior Fort took deception further. Its false treasury chambers were filled with iron replicas of gold bars, while the real wealth sat behind an unmarked section of wall, accessible only by solving a riddle carved into the ceiling. Some legends persist precisely because they were too well guarded. The fabled treasure of the Knights Templar, said to be hidden beneath France's Himeji Castle, has lured explorers for 700 years. Modern ground-penetrating radar revealed a labyrinth of chambers beneath the chapel, but their contents remain a mystery thanks to a network of water-filled moats and collapsible tunnels designed to flood at the slightest disturbance. Then there are the treasures that vanished into myth. Spain's conquistadors spent decades hunting the golden city of El Dorado, never realizing some of its rumored wealth might have been hidden in plain sight. Recent excavations near Bogotá uncovered a system of lakeside tunnels matching indigenous descriptions of secret storage, empty now, but lined with grooves suggesting heavy objects were once dragged away. What's fascinating isn't just the ingenuity of these vaults, but what they reveal about the minds that built them. A king's wealth wasn't just measured in gold, it was measured in how thoroughly he could make it disappear from view. And as long as stone keeps its secrets, the thrill of discovery remains alive. Who knows what still waits behind the next false wall, beneath the next forgotten trapdoor? The stones aren't talking yet. Beneath the clamor of battle and the glitter of treasure vaults, some of history's most profound secrets were kept not for kings, but for the divine. Malta's Hypogeum, carved 3,000 years before the birth of Christ, isn't just an underground complex, it's a whispering gallery of the sacred. Its chambers curve like the womb of the earth, designed to amplify chants in frequencies that still unsettle modern scientists. Visitors describe how sound lingers here, bouncing off walls painted with ochre spirals, as if the stones themselves remember the prayers of the long-vanished people who worshipped in this twilight world. Scotland's Rosslyn Chapel takes secrecy to another level. At first glance, its intricate carvings seem purely decorative, until sunlight strikes at the right angle, revealing hidden symbols woven into the stone. A single pillar, known as the Apprentice Pillar, spirals with vines that conceal coded messages, possibly left by medieval stonemasons guarding esoteric knowledge. Some researchers believe these patterns align with celestial events, turning the chapel into a kind of frozen astronomy lesson meant only for initiated eyes. But these spaces weren't just about concealment, they transformed secrecy into sacrament. In Turkey's Cappadocia, early Christians dug entire churches into soft volcanic rock, their frescoes visible only by candlelight. The flickering flames would have brought Bible scenes to life for congregations hiding from Roman persecution, making worship an act of defiance as much as devotion. Similarly, Ethiopia's Lalibela churches weren't just built, they were sculpted downward, chiseled from the living rock to create 11 subterranean sanctuaries connected by tunnels. Pilgrims still walk these passages today, retracing steps meant to symbolize the journey from darkness to enlightenment. What unites these spaces across continents and centuries is their intentional separation from the everyday world. Unlike treasure chambers or escape routes, their power came from being set apart, a sacred distance that turned physical hiddenness into spiritual intensity. The hypogeum's deepest chamber, nicknamed the Holy of Holies, was accessible only through a tiny doorway, forcing worshippers to crawl inward, literally bowing as they entered the presence of the divine. Yet for all their mystery, these chambers whisper a universal truth, that faith, like fear, thrives in the unseen. Whether it was Bronze Age priests preserving rituals from invading armies or medieval masons encoding cosmic secrets in stone, these builders understood something profound. Sometimes the most powerful secrets aren't those kept from enemies but those shared only with the gods. Spies didn't just lurk in shadows, they lived in the walls. At the Palace of Versailles, what looked like ordinary moldings concealed an elaborate network of listening tubes, their funnel-shaped openings strategically placed behind tapestries and above doorways. Courtiers whispering in the Hall of Mirrors had no idea their words traveled through hollow plaster, reaching the ears of Louis XIV's intelligence chief, who kept notes on every betrayal and bribe. This wasn't just gossip, it was statecraft engineered into the very architecture. The Alcazar of Segovia took surveillance to another level. Behind its Moorish arches, narrow service corridors ran parallel to royal chambers, their walls studded with peepholes no wider than a coin. Servants could observe guests for hours, tracking who lingered too long at the wine or touched locked cabinets. Some spy holes even aligned with decorative carvings, turning floral patterns into perfect camouflage. The genius of these systems, they exploited human nature. People guarded their words in throne rooms but grew careless in private chambers, never suspecting the walls themselves were watching. But ancient espionage wasn't just about eavesdropping. In Persia's underground Qanats, miles of irrigation tunnels, couriers moved unseen beneath cities, carrying messages between spy cells. The Qin dynasty's terracotta army may get the glory, but their real military advantage lay in the secret passages linking frontier watchtowers, allowing scouts to relay invasion warnings faster than smoke signals. What's striking is how these systems mirror modern surveillance. The listening tubes of Versailles functioned like early wiretaps. Segovia's peepholes anticipated security cameras by 600 years. Even the terminology feels familiar. Roman emperors called their informers delators, Latin for those who report. The tools change, but the game stays the same. Perhaps the most chilling example lies in Istanbul's Topkapi Palace. Hidden above the Sultan's divan, a grated window known as the Eye let him observe council meetings unseen. Advisors debated below, unaware their ruler was judging every twitch and hesitation. It was power distilled into architecture, proof that in the ancient world, true control meant seeing without being seen. These weren't just clever designs, they were psychological weapons turning paranoia into policy, because the greatest threat wasn't the spy in the room, it was never knowing if the room itself was listening. Beneath the candlelit halls where nobles feasted, a colder reality waited in the dark. The Sheit Howdif's infamous well shaft wasn't just a prison, it was a psychological experiment. Prisoners lowered into its damp cylinder could hear the sea crashing against rocks below, a constant reminder that freedom was agonizingly close yet impossible to reach. This very shaft inspired Alexander Dumas' The Count of Monte Cristo, but the truth was grimmer than fiction. Inmates called it the pit of despair, where isolation eroded sanity long before hunger took its toll. Prague Castle's torture chambers tell a different kind of story. The hunger wall, lined with iron hooks, wasn't just for restraint, it was a stage. Victims were suspended just inches from bread and water, their struggles turning punishment into theater for interrogators. Nearby, a deceptively simple wooden device called the Spanish boot could crush feet to pulp with a few turns of a screw. a brutal lesson in how easily the body betrays its owner under pressure. Yet perhaps the most unsettling spaces were those designed for anonymity. In Naples' Castel Nuovo, the crocodile pit earned its name not from reptiles but from its sloped floor. Prisoners thrown in would slide irresistibly toward a central drain, their final screams muffled by thick stone. These weren't just places of pain, they were carefully engineered to erase evidence along with lives. What's revealing is how torture chambers mirrored the societies above. Venice's Doge's Palace hid its interrogation rooms behind courtroom walls, symbolizing how justice and brutality coexisted seamlessly. Meanwhile, Edinburgh's Whipping Stone stood openly in the castle yard, a public display of power meant to deter dissent through dread. The true horror lies in the craftsmanship. Iron Maidens, though likely more myth than reality, represent a dark truth. These devices were often works of art, their interiors studded with spikes arranged in precise patterns to prolong suffering. Even the keys to dungeon locks were sometimes forged with intricate designs, a macabre contrast to their purpose. Visitors today touch walls still scarred by fingernails, walk passages that once echoed with pleas for mercy. These spaces force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The same minds that built soaring cathedrals also perfected the science of breaking human spirits. The stones remember, the challenge is whether we'll listen. Some fortresses didn't just stand against nature, they became one with it. Beneath the rolling hills of Turkey's Cappadocia, Derinkuyu stretches 12 stories deep, a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers carved not by human hands alone, but by volcanic eruptions millions of years earlier. Ancient engineers found these soft, porous rock formations and saw opportunity. They expanded existing caverns, chiseling staircases that spiraled downward and ventilation shafts so precise they still function today. This wasn't just a hidden city, it was an ecosystem. Freshwater wells tapped underground rivers, while massive stone wheels could seal corridors against invaders, turning geology into a defensive weapon. Half a world away, England's Nottingham caves tell a different story of adaptation. What began as sandstone quarries became medieval storerooms, then World War II air raid shelters. The very softness that made the rock easy to dig also made it ideal for secrecy, sound dampened against the porous walls, muffling conversations and machinery alike. During the Blitz, families huddled in chambers originally carved to age cheese, their ceilings blackened by centuries of torch smoke. The caves even hid a clandestine factory producing aircraft components, invisible to enemy bombers scouting overhead. What's remarkable is how these natural spaces shaped human behavior. In Derinkuyu, entire communities lived underground for months during invasions, their livestock and food stores tucked into rounded chambers that mirrored the honeycomb structure of the rock itself. Meanwhile, Nottingham's caves became a mirror of the city above. Smugglers carved hidden docks along the riverbank, while tavern owners expanded cellars into illicit gambling dens. The line between natural formation and human engineering blurred until the caves became extensions of the streets overhead. The real genius of these builders wasn't just their ability to dig, it was their understanding of how to let the earth work for them. In Malta's Hypogeum, architects positioned ceremonial chambers to amplify chanting through natural acoustics. Scotland's Gwalior Castle integrated sea caves into its defenses, allowing sentries to patrol hidden beaches. Even the temperature played a role. Spain's Setenil de los Bodgas built homes directly into cliff overhangs, using the rock's thermal mass to stay cool in summer and warm in winter. These spaces challenge our idea of what a fortress should be. Walls and towers are impressive, but there's a quiet brilliance in bending nature to your will. When invaders scanned the horizon for battlements, they often missed the real stronghold hidden in plain sight beneath their feet. The Amber Fort's famous magic flower mosaic isn't just a masterpiece of craftsmanship, it's a carefully calculated deception. At first glance, the intricate petals seem like ordinary inlaid stone, but touch them in the right sequence and an entire panel slides open, revealing a hidden alcove. This wasn't mere whimsy, it was a security system disguised as art. The compartment's mechanism relied on counterweights hidden within the walls, so precisely balanced that even the lightest pressure on the correct petals would trigger it. But the real stroke of genius, the design ensured only those who knew the secret could access it, turning a beautiful wall into a vault no thief could crack without inside knowledge. Elsewhere, architects weaponized confusion. The Alcazar of Toledo employed a tactic straight from a nightmare shifting staircases. What appeared to be a simple flight of steps might suddenly pivot mid-ascent, dumping intruders into a guarded courtyard or even a concealed cell. The mechanism, likely operated by hidden levers or counterweights, turned ordinary movement into a trap. Meanwhile, mirrored halls in Persia's Ali Kapu Palace multiplied reflections endlessly, disorienting visitors until they couldn't tell real doorways from illusions. These weren't just tricks of light, they were psychological mazes designed to overwhelm the senses. False doors reached their zenith in Egypt's Valley of the Kings. Tomb builders carved convincing doorways into burial chambers, complete with fake lintels and hinges, only for them to lead to solid stone. Robbers would waste precious time hacking through these decoys while the real treasures lay hidden behind unassuming patches of wall, their seams blended seamlessly with the surrounding rock. Some tombs took deception further, embedding loose stones that would collapse tunnels if disturbed, burying thieves alongside their greed. The brilliance of these designs lay in their dual purpose. They didn't just thwart physical entry, they preyed on the mind. A hallway that curved imperceptibly, a door that vanished when viewed from a certain angle, a floor tile that triggered a silent alarm, each played on primal fears of the unknown. After all, what's more terrifying than a fortress that actively deceives you? Perhaps the most unsettling examples are the ones we'll never find. For every discovered trick, historians suspect dozens remain hidden, their secrets lost with the builders who conceived them. That's the ultimate testament to their effectiveness. Even time hasn't betrayed them. Behind the ornate lattice screens of Gwalior Fort's zenana, royal women watched the world through a veil of carved stone. These intricate jolly screens weren't just architectural flourishes, they were visual filters, allowing inhabitants to observe courtyard ceremonies and bustling markets without being seen. The geometry of the perforations was mathematically precise, narrow enough to preserve privacy, yet angled to provide sweeping views. In Rajasthan's scorching heat, these screens also served as natural air conditioning, their patterns creating breezes that cooled the chambers while maintaining absolute seclusion. But the zenana was far more than a gilded cage. Within these walls, women wielded quiet influence. At Amber Fort's mirrored palace, the Maharani's quarters connected directly to the ruler's chambers via a private corridor, evidence that while public life demanded separation, behind closed doors, political counsel flowed freely. Some zenanas doubled as cultural hubs. Mughal empresses like Nur Jahan commissioned poetry salons and botanical gardens within their quarters, their patronage shaping art and science despite physical boundaries. The architecture itself told stories of adaptation. In Turkey's Topkapi Palace, the harem featured a secret staircase leading to the Sultan's mother's apartments, her rooms positioned to monitor all comings and goings. Meanwhile, Fatehpur Sikri's zenana included a sunken pool with acoustics designed to carry whispers to the empress's seating area, a discreet surveillance system long before wiretaps existed. What's often overlooked is how these spaces evolved. Early zenanas were defensive measures against invading armies, but by the 17th century, they'd become microcosms of power. The very walls meant to conceal also protected dynastic secrets, sacred rituals, and even state documents. When British forces besieged Indian forts during colonial rule, many were stunned to discover entire armories and treasuries hidden within zenana quarters, the last place soldiers thought to look. The legacy of these chambers lingers in paradoxical ways. While they enforced separation, they also fostered unique female-led traditions, from miniature painting schools to musical styles never performed outside those walls. Today, the faint scent of rosewater still clings to some zenana cushions, and if you stand quietly in Jaisalmer's deserted courtyards, you can almost hear the echo of anklets on stone, reminders that for all their secrecy, these spaces were vibrantly, defiantly alive. War wasn't just fought on battlefields, it was won in hidden rooms, beneath the cobbled courtyards of Poland's Himeji Castle. A network of tunnels carved during World War II concealed more than Nazi gold. They housed entire armories, their walls lined with crates of ammunition and racks of rifles, all invisible to Allied bombers scouring the landscape from above. This wasn't just storage, it was strategic genius. By dispersing supplies underground, the Germans ensured that even if the castle above was reduced to rubble, their forces could regroup and rearm without detection. But secret armories weren't unique to modern warfare. Centuries earlier, Japan's Himeji Castle employed a similar trick. Behind sliding panels in its pristine white walls, compartments held enough swords and arrows to equip a small army at a moment's notice. The real stroke of brilliance, these hidden caches were positioned near blind spots in the castle's defensive layout, areas where attackers might briefly gain footing, only to find themselves ambushed by freshly armed defenders materializing from the walls themselves. The logistical mastery extended beyond weapons. In Malta's Fort St. Angelo, medieval knights stockpiled grain and water in chambers carved beneath the bedrock, ensuring they could withstand sieges lasting months. Some storerooms even had false floors, their hollow spaces packed with sand to absorb moisture and prevent spoilage. Meanwhile, India's Gwalior Fort took concealment to another level. Its granaries were disguised as ordinary temple cellars, their entrances camouflaged by carvings of deities, a deception that saved countless lives during repeated invasions. Perhaps the most audacious use of hidden barracks comes from Scotland's Dunottar Castle. Perched on a cliffside, it seemed vulnerable to naval blockades until invaders discovered too late that the fortress had a secret. A tunnel stretching to the shoreline allowed reinforcements to arrive by cover of darkness, their movements muffled by the thunder of waves against the rocks. This single passage turned the castle into an unsinkable stronghold, its true strength lying not in its walls but in its unseen connections. What's striking is how these designs mirrored their eras. Medieval castles favored compartmentalized stashes, reflecting the chaos of feudal warfare. Renaissance fortresses built interconnected networks, ideal for coordinated defenses. And World War II bunkers prioritized dispersion, a lesson learned from aerial bombardment. Each solution spoke to the same truth: victory often depended on what your enemy couldn't see. The legacy of these hidden systems lingers in modern military strategy. Today's missile silos and underground command centers owe their existence to those early innovators who understood that sometimes the best way to protect your strength is to make it disappear. The lifeblood of any fortress wasn't just its walls, it was the water flowing silently beneath them. In Morocco's Ait Ben Haddou, a labyrinth of underground channels snaked through the clay, invisible to besieging armies camped outside. These weren't mere ditches, they were feats of hydraulic engineering, carved with precise gradients to keep water moving even during the driest months. The real genius lay in their secrecy. Entrance shafts were disguised as ordinary wells, their true depth concealed by false bottoms. Guards rotated shifts under the pretense of drawing water, while in reality, they monitored the system for sabotage. One slip, a misplaced stone, a telltale damp patch on the surface, could doom an entire community. But 8 Benhadou was far from alone. Spain's Alhambra took water security to poetic heights. Its acequias, hidden conduits fed by Sierra Nevada snowmelt, ran beneath courtyards and chambers, their gentle murmur masked by the splash of ornamental fountains. Enemy forces might assume the gardens were irrigated by surface channels, never suspecting the real supply lay buried under their feet. Even during the longest sieges, the Alhambra's residents bathed, drank, and tended lush orchards, their hidden water network doubling as psychological warfare. What demoralized attackers more than seeing defenders well-fed and clean-shaven after months of blockade? The sophistication of these systems still astonishes engineers today. At India's Ranthambore Fort, builders constructed a series of stepped wells that doubled as cooling chambers. Air passing over the water created natural refrigeration, preserving food stores while keeping temperatures bearable during scorching summers. Meanwhile, Turkey's Rumelihisari fortress boasted a rainwater filtration system so advanced that sediment traps and charcoal filters produced water cleaner than what most medieval cities had access to. What's truly remarkable is how these designs adapted to their environments. Desert fortresses prioritized water conservation. Jordan's Qasr al-Kharana channeled every drop of rare rainfall into subterranean cisterns lined with watertight plaster. In contrast, Scottish castles like Stirling embraced abundance, with ladies' wells tapping natural springs so reliable they never ran dry, even in winter. The legacy of these hidden lifelines endures in modern survival tactics. Special forces still study them, recognizing that the old masters understood something timeless: control the water and you control the fight. And while the sieges have faded, the stones still whisper their secrets if you know where to listen. Edinburgh Castle's underground vaults don't just echo with footsteps, they hum with whispers of the past. Visitors report hearing anguished screams in the maze of chambers beneath the Great Hall, though no living soul stands nearby. Historians trace these legends to the vault's grim history as temporary prisons during the Napoleonic Wars, where captured French sailors languished in darkness. But here's the twist. Recent acoustic studies revealed the screams might not be supernatural at all. The vault's curved ceilings and narrow corridors create a natural echo chamber, amplifying distant sounds from the streets above into ghostly wails. Yet even science hasn't dispelled the stories, because sometimes the fear isn't in the noise, but in the weight of what happened there. Bran Castle's connection to Dracula, on the other hand, is a masterclass in how folklore eclipses fact. While Vlad the Impaler, the real-life inspiration for Bram Stoker's vampire, never actually lived here, the castle's hidden passages and torchlit staircases became the perfect stage for the myth. Tour guides now point to a secret tunnel leading to a supposed torture chamber, though archaeologists confirm it was likely just a storage cellar. The brilliance of Bran's legend lies in its ambiguity. Those winding staircases, perfect for a creature who shuns sunlight, the eerie drafts that snuff out candles, ideal for hinting at an unseen presence. The castle didn't need ghosts, it had something better: architecture that invited the imagination to run wild. But not all spectral tales are so easily explained. Portugal's Quinta da Galera hides a subterranean initiation well, its spiral staircase descending into pitch-black water. Locals swear the well was used for occult rituals, and to this day, visitors describe an unnatural chill in the air, even in midsummer. Unlike Edinburgh's acoustics or Bran's staged scares, this well's unsettling energy defies measurement. perhaps that's the real power of these stories. They force us to confront the limits of what we can prove. What's fascinating is how these legends evolve. At Poland's Himeji Castle, the White Lady ghost reportedly appears only to those who disrespect the building, a clear warning to vandals wrapped in supernatural guise. Meanwhile, Japan's Himeji Castle spins tales of a weeping servant girl, her spirit tied to a hidden well where she drowned. These aren't random ghost stories. Their morality plays etched into stone, reminders that every secret passage holds more than bricks. It holds the echoes of human choices. The truth may lie somewhere between history and hysteria. When we stand in these shadowed corridors, we're not just sensing spirits, we're feeling the residue of centuries of fear, hope, and desperation. And whether the chill down your spine comes from a draft or something deeper, one thing's certain: these walls were built to keep secrets. Maybe some were never meant to be uncovered. Walk through any ancient fortress, and you'll notice them strange symbols etched into stone, tucked between bricks or hidden in shadowed corners. At first glance, they might look like simple mason's marks, the signatures of craftsmen who shaped these walls centuries ago. But look closer and patterns emerge. In France's Rennes-le-Château, a single carving of a knight holds a coded message that's fueled treasure hunts for generations. Nearby, a church wall bears alchemical symbols so precise they mirror diagrams from medieval manuscripts on turning lead into gold. These aren't random scratches, they're puzzles waiting to be solved. Take the infamous Shepherd's Monument at Shugborough Hall in England. Beneath a mirror image of a Nicholas Powson painting, 10 letters are carved: DOUSVAVVM. For over 250 years, scholars and cryptographers have tried to crack this code. Some believe it points to the location of the Holy Grail. Others think it's a love letter meant only for one person's eyes. The truth, no one knows for certain. But that's the allure of these symbols. They're open invitations to interpretation. Each stroke of the chisel a deliberate choice by someone who wanted their message to last. The real intrigue lies in the symbols that defy categorization. High in the mountains of Portugal, the Quinta da Galera's initiation well spirals downward, its walls lined with tarot imagery and astrological signs. Were these mere decorations, or did they serve as a visual guide for secret rituals? Similarly, Scotland's Rosslyn Chapel boasts hundreds of carved green men, their leafy faces intertwined with corn stalks from the Americas, a continent supposedly unknown when the chapel was built. Coincidence or evidence of lost knowledge? What's fascinating is how these markings transcend geography. From the labyrinthine caves of Cappadocia to the vaulted ceilings of Bohemian castles, the same symbols reappear: interlocking circles, serpents swallowing their tails, eyes within triangles. Some appear in religious texts, others in banned occult manuscripts. Their persistence suggests a shared language of secrecy, one that bypassed borders and eras. Yet for all their mystery, these symbols served practical purposes too. Masonic marks in Welsh castles often indicated which guilds built which sections, acting as quality control stamps. Alchemical signs in German fortresses might have denoted storage for volatile materials. Even the most esoteric carvings could have mundane explanations, but that's the thrill. Every symbol holds two stories, the one written in history books and the one waiting in the shadows. The greatest challenge isn't just decoding these messages, it's understanding why they were hidden in the first place. Were they protections against persecution, like the hidden stars of David in Spanish synagogues, maps to forgotten treasures, like the ciphers said to lead to Templar gold? Or perhaps something simpler, a human desire to leave a mark, to whisper across time, "I was here." Until we find the key, the stones keep their secrets. But the hunt, that's half the magic. modern technology is peeling back the layers of history like never before, revealing secrets our ancestors never intended us to find. Take LiDAR. Those laser pulses scanning from aircraft have uncovered entire lost cities beneath jungle canopies, but their magic works just as well on stone fortresses. In 2018, scans of England's Dover Castle exposed a network of medieval tunnels completely missed by centuries of archaeologists, their entrances cleverly disguised as natural rock formations. Even more astonishing, some passages still contained centuries-old torch brackets and tool marks, perfectly preserved in the dark like a time capsule waiting for the right light to shine on it. Ground-penetrating radar has rewritten history books too. When researchers scanned beneath the Great Pyramid's plaza, they didn't just find storage chambers, they mapped a hidden corridor running straight toward the pyramid's core, its purpose still debated. Was it a construction pathway, a sacred processional route, or something more mysterious? Meanwhile, beneath Vienna's cobblestones, the same technology revealed a forgotten WW2 resistance network linking basements across the city, proving that the art of secret building never really faded. The real game changer, hyperspectral imaging. This technique doesn't just see through walls, it reads them. At Malta's Hypogeum, multispectral scans detected ochre paintings invisible to the naked eye, their pigments faded after 5,000 years. The images revealed processions of figures and spirals curling across ceilings, turning what was thought to be a burial site into what might have been an underground temple. Similarly, scans of Scotland's Dunnottar Castle exposed coded messages scratched into prison walls by 17th century captives, their pleas and poetry finally legible after 300 years. What's thrilling isn't just what we've found, it's what's still out there. Experts estimate less than 15% of the world's major fortresses have been thoroughly scanned. With drones now carrying LiDAR and AI deciphering patterns humans might miss, every new survey could rewrite history. Imagine scanning Rajasthan's Gwalior Fort and finding chambers referenced in Mughal scrolls but never located. Or discovering the fabled lost level of Derinkuyu, said to descend even deeper than currently mapped. The stones have kept their secrets well, but technology is giving us the keys. And if history's any guide, the most astonishing revelations are still waiting in the dark. Time is running out for many of these hidden chambers. While their secrets have survived wars and invasions, they now face a more insidious threat: silent decay. In the damp recesses of Portugal's Sintra palaces, delicate frescoes peel from walls as moisture seeps through neglected roofs. Beneath Edinburgh's old town, centuries-old escape tunnels buckle under the weight of modern construction above. Even the towering walls of Rajasthan's forts, built to withstand cannon fire, are slowly surrendering to creeping vines and monsoon rains. The irony is cruel. Structures designed to outlast empires are vanishing not from siege, but from simple neglect. Conservation teams work against impossible odds. At Turkey's Derinkuyu, engineers battle rising groundwater that threatens to dissolve the soft volcanic rock of this underground city. Their solution: a network of pumps and drainage channels, modern technology pressed into service to save ancient ingenuity. Meanwhile, in Malta, specialists use 3D mapping to document the Hypogeum's fragile ochre paintings before humidity erases them forever. But these efforts are patchwork. For every well-funded UNESCO project, dozens of lesser-known sites crumble unseen. The labyrinth beneath France's Château de Brézé lacks even basic climate control, its Renaissance-era carvings cracking as temperature swings warp the limestone. The challenges multiply in conflict zones. Syria's cracked des Chevaliers, a crusader fortress with hidden reservoirs that once sustained armies, now bears scars from mortar fire. Restoration here isn't just about preservation, it's about piecing together shattered history. Archaeologists work like forensic scientists, matching fragments of carved stone to reconstruct vaulted chambers reduced to rubble. Yet funding evaporates as quickly as it's pledged. A single day's work stabilizing a collapsing tunnel in Oman's Gwalior Fort costs more than a year's budget for local heritage groups. What's truly at stake isn't just architecture, it's human stories. When a hidden passage collapses, it doesn't just take stones with it. The fingerprint smudges left by a medieval mason in wet plaster. The charcoal tally marks prisoners scratched on dungeon walls, the worn grooves where secret doors pivoted for generations. These intimate traces vanish irreplaceably. Modern techniques like LiDAR can map structures, but they can't capture the texture of history etched into surfaces by centuries of use. Some solutions emerge from unexpected places. In Japan, traditional shadowy plaster, a mix of seaweed and lime once used to fortify ninja castles, is being revived to repair crumbling walls with historically accurate materials. Indian architects study centuries-old jolly designs to replicate natural ventilation systems that protect delicate murals better than modern air conditioning. Even tourism plays a role. Croatia's Diocletian Palace funds conservation through carefully managed visitor access to its subterranean halls, proving that curiosity can be harnessed as a force for preservation. The race isn't hopeless. When workers at Wales' Himeji Castle discovered a long sealed tunnel during routine maintenance, archaeologists swung into action within hours. Their quick response preserved rare medieval graffiti, including a crude sketch of a sailing ship, possibly scratched by a homesick guard. It's these small victories that keep conservators digging, scanning, and pleading for resources. Because every saved corridor is more than a tourist attraction, it's a bridge to minds that thought differently, solved problems ingeniously, and left clues in stone for us to decipher. The real tragedy wouldn't be losing their secrets to war or time, but to apathy. Every fortress has its share of whispered tales, those stories passed down through generations, growing taller with each retelling. Take the infamous secret tunnels beneath Disneyland, rumored to connect attractions for covert operations or celebrity escapes. Despite decades of fan speculation, ground-penetrating radar surveys and construction records confirm these are pure myth. Yet the legend persists, proving how easily a compelling story can outpace reality. The line between fact and fantasy blurs most in places like Scotland's Gwalior Castle, where guides still point out a hidden chamber said to hold a monstrous secret. Historical blueprints show no such room exists, but the tale thrives because it taps into something deeper, our love for mysteries that defy explanation. Even when archaeologists debunk these claims, as they did with the so-called tunnel network beneath Paris's catacombs, the stories don't fade. They simply evolve, finding new cracks in the evidence to seep through. What's fascinating is how these myths often contain kernels of truth. The legend of an escaped tunnel beneath Austria's Hohenwürfen Castle was dismissed for years until renovations uncovered a collapsed passage matching eyewitness accounts from the 1500s. Similarly, locals long spoke of whispering arches in India's Golconda Fort that could carry voices across distances. Scientists initially scoffed until acoustic tests proved the fort's parabolic walls really could project a clap from the entrance to the highest balcony, just as the stories claimed. The real challenge lies in balancing skepticism with wonder. While LiDAR and ground scans have disproven countless fables, they've also revealed surprises, like the buried Roman amphitheater beneath England's Richborough Fort, hidden so well even medieval chroniclers missed it. Perhaps that's why we cling to these legends. Not because we believe them all, but because the possibility still exists that somewhere behind some forgotten wall lies a secret waiting to rewrite history. In the end, these stories serve a purpose beyond fact or fiction. They remind us that every stone holds two histories, the one written in records and the one etched in imagination. And sometimes the most enduring legacy isn't what was built, but what we choose to believe was hidden. Treasure hunters have always walked a fine line between obsession and discovery, their names etched in history or lost to the very ruins they sought to uncover. Take Heinrich Schliemann, the self-taught archaeologist who ignored scholarly consensus and dug where Homer's Iliad told him to. His relentless pursuit led to the golden mask of Agamemnon at Mycenae, proving that myth sometimes wears the weight of truth. Yet for every Schliemann, there are countless others who gambled everything and came up empty. The deserts of Egypt alone are littered with the abandoned camps of fortune seekers who chased papyrus maps to nowhere, their water skins dry and picks still wedged in unyielding stone. Modern hunters wield technology instead of shovels, but the thrill remains the same. When amateur explorer Colin Hyde swept a ground-penetrating radar over a field near England's Hastings Castle, he wasn't expecting much until the screen revealed a void matching descriptions of a lost Norman treasury. Archaeologists later confirmed it, a subterranean chamber lined with lead, its contents long since looted, but its existence validating centuries of local legend. These finds aren't just about gold, they're about vindication, the moment when a hunch hardens into history, yet the risks are as real as ever. In 2016, a team probing the tunnels beneath Malta's hypogeum disappeared for 3 days after a collapse, their emergency oxygen ticking down as rescuers carved a new path to reach them. They emerged with broken equipment but intact spirits, clutching Roman-era glass beads from a previously unknown burial niche. It's this duality that defines the hunt, the promise of glory shadowed by real peril. The most intriguing seekers are those who vanish mid-quest, leaving behind cryptic clues. In 1937, British antiquarian Theodore Maud claimed to have found the Lost Monkey God's Temple in Honduras, then refused to reveal its location before his sudden death. His journals mention staircases descending into the earth and walls studded with jade, but to this day, no one has matched his descriptions to a known site. Was it fabrication, or does the jungle still guard his secret? What drives this endless pursuit? Partly, it's the artifacts, the glint of gold in torchlight, the weight of a centuries-old sword. But deeper down, it's the chance to touch a hidden thread of history, to stand where no one has stood for generations. When a Spanish farmer stumbled onto the Visigothic treasure of Gwalior while plowing his field, he wasn't just holding 6th century crowns, he was holding proof that sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't made by experts with maps, but by ordinary people in the right place at the right time. The stones keep their secrets close, but they do give them up piece by piece to those stubborn or lucky enough to ask. And whether the next great find comes from a satellite scan or a child's wandering footsteps, one thing's certain, the hunt is far from over. Ancient fortresses didn't just vanish into history, they evolved. Walk through any high-security building today and you'll spot their descendants, those sleek panic rooms in modern mansions. They're direct heirs to medieval strongholds, trading stone walls for reinforced steel but keeping the same purpose, sanctuary in chaos. Even the White House's famous bunker, carved deep beneath the East Wing, owes its DNA to the cliffside hideaways of Scottish castles. The difference: today's architects swap torches for biometric scanners, proving that while the tools change, the human need for hidden safety never does. Take the vaults beneath banks and museums, spaces so secure they're practically invisible. Their design borrows from Renaissance treasure chambers, where builders used false floors and decoy corridors to mislead thieves. The Federal Reserve's Gold Depository in New York takes this further, with its multi-ton steel door echoing the counterweight mechanisms of Rajasthan's forts. What's striking isn't just the similarity in function, but in philosophy. Both eras understood that true security doesn't just deter, it deceives. A modern vault's most effective feature might be the unmarked service door that blends into the wallpaper, just like the amber fort's trick mosaics. But ancient ingenuity shapes more than just defenses. Ever noticed how luxury hotels use staggered corridors or how casinos avoid straight sight lines? Those layouts trace back to the winding passages of Ottoman palaces, designed to disorient assassins. Even subway systems borrow from the playbook. London's underground hid Churchill's wartime bunker in plain sight, much like the tunnels beneath Malta's fortresses concealed entire armies. The lesson: good design doesn't just solve problems, it anticipates them. Perhaps the most unexpected legacy lies in green architecture. The passive cooling systems in Dubai's Burj Khalifa mirror the wind-catching shafts of Persia's underground qanats. And those living walls sprouting in urban centers, they're modern cousins to the vine-covered facades of Indian forts, where vegetation stabilized stone and masked secret entrances. It's a poetic twist. Ancient solutions to sieges now combat climate change. The thread connecting past and present isn't just materials or blueprints, it's mindset. When a Silicon Valley CEO installs a bookcase that pivots to a safe room, they're channeling the same instinct that drove Tudor kings to build priest holes. Both understood that survival isn't just about strength, it's about staying one step ahead. And as long as humans crave security, the whispers of those old stone corridors will keep shaping the spaces we trust to protect us. Imagine strapping on a headset and suddenly standing in the dim glow of a medieval torch, your virtual fingers brushing against cold stone walls that haven't felt a human touch in centuries. This isn't science fiction, it's the cutting edge of historical exploration. Museums and researchers are now using virtual reality to reconstruct hidden chambers and forgotten passageways with astonishing accuracy, letting us step into spaces that were once reserved for kings, prisoners, or covert operatives. The Tower of London's secret staircases, Malta's hypogeum's echoing halls, even the buried tunnels beneath Edinburgh's streets, all can be wandered through from your living room, complete with the flicker of torchlight and the sound of distant dripping water. What makes these digital recreations so powerful isn't just the visuals, it's the layers of context woven into the experience. At Germany's Marksburg Castle, VR tours overlay blueprints and historical accounts onto the crumbling walls, showing how a seemingly plain corridor once concealed a pulley system for hoisting supplies during sieges. Meanwhile, Portugal's Quinta da Regalera offers a guided ghost mode, where translucent figures reenact initiation rituals in the subterranean initiation well, blending architecture with anthropology. These aren't sterile walkthroughs, they're time machines that let you eavesdrop on the past. The technology's real triumph: accessibility. For decades, fragile sites like Turkey's Derinkuyu have restricted access to protect their delicate ecosystems. Now, anyone with a VR headset can navigate its 12-story depths, peering into chapels and storerooms too narrow for modern crowds. Even more groundbreaking are projects like the Digital Giza Initiative, which stitches together scans from pyramids worldwide, allowing you to compare hidden chambers across continents in a single session. Suddenly, the secret passageways of Egypt's Valley of the Kings and Japan's Himeji Castle exist side by side in a way that would have been logistically impossible for any researcher. But here's the twist: VR isn't just preserving history, it's helping solve its mysteries. When historians recreated Scotland's Craigmillar Castle in virtual space, players in an online, crowdsourcing game noticed odd scratches on a reconstructed dungeon wall. Turns out, they matched the dimensions of a missing iron restraint, revealing where prisoners were once chained. Similarly, a glitch in a VR model of France's Carcassonne led to the rediscovery of a bricked-up alcove that medieval builders had intentionally omitted from original plans. Sometimes seeing a space from every angle, even digitally, exposes secrets that centuries of physical exploration missed. The magic lies in the details. The best VR experiences don't just show you a tunnel, they let you feel its grit. Haptic feedback gloves simulate the rough texture of ancient brick, while spatial audio captures how whispers bounce differently in a rounded vault versus an angular corridor. At Poland's Himeji Castle, one tour even replicates the stomach-dropping moment when a hidden floor panel gives way beneath your feet, just as it would have for unsuspecting intruders in the 1600s. These sensory cues do what textbooks can't. They make history visceral. Critics argue that no digital experience can replace the awe of standing in an actual secret chamber, and they're right. But VR isn't trying to, it's creating something new. For every person who treks to Rajasthan to see Gwalior Fort's water systems, there are thousands who'll only ever encounter them through a screen. And when that screen can transport you to the exact spot where a trapped knight carved his final message into stone, or let you test the acoustics of a Templar prayer niche with your own voice, it's not a substitute. It's a revolution, the true promise of this technology. It's just getting started. Future updates might let us smell the damp earth of a siege tunnel or touch the warmth of a freshly extinguished torch. AI could generate real-time translations of graffiti left by prisoners, or simulate how a hidden armory would have looked stocked and ready for battle. The stones are finally speaking, and thanks to VR, we're learning to listen in ways our ancestors never dreamed possible. The discovery of a hidden chamber should thrill archaeologists, but sometimes it sends a chill down their spines. Take the controversy surrounding Egypt's Valley of the Kings, where radar scans suggested an undiscovered tomb behind Tutankhamun's burial chamber. The potential scientific gain was enormous, but so were the risks. Ancient curses aside, the real dilemma was ethical. Would exposing those walls to modern air and light destroy pigments preserved for 3,300 years? Similar debates rage over Peru's Nazca lines, where underground chambers may hold clues to this vanished civilization, but disturbing them could erase fragile geoglyphs above. The question isn't just what we might find, but what we might lose in the finding. Some secrets involve more than artifacts. They hold human stories. When researchers used LiDAR to locate mass graves from the Spanish Civil War beneath old fortresses, families of the disappeared begged for closure. Yet opening these sites risks turning tragedy into spectacle. Spain's law of historical memory now requires forensic protocols before excavations, ensuring bones are treated as evidence, not exhibits. Contrast this with the catacombs of Paris, where centuries-old remains became macabre tourist attractions, their original burial context erased. The line between respect and exploitation wears thin when curiosity meets human remains. Indigenous communities offer another perspective. For the Pueblo people of New Mexico, certain ancestral ruins aren't abandoned, they're still sacred. When a hidden kiva ceremonial chamber was uncovered at Bandelier National Monument, tribal elders worked with archaeologists to document it through non-invasive scans rather than excavation. Their compromise, letting the chamber remain sealed while 3D modeling preserved its details. This approach honors both knowledge and tradition, proving technology can sometimes reveal without disturbing. The debate grows thornier with politically charged sites. Jerusalem's Temple Mount conceals tunnels from Crusader and Islamic eras, but excavations risk igniting modern conflicts. Here, preservation isn't just about protecting history, it's about preventing violence. Similarly, China's terracotta army pits conservation against access. Every open pit exposes sculptures to humidity that cracks their paint within minutes. Some chambers are better left as time capsules, their contents documented remotely for future generations with better tools. Perhaps the solution lies in redefining discovery. Advanced imaging now lets us open tombs virtually, like the VR reconstruction of KV-63 in Egypt's Valley of the Kings. Ground-penetrating radar mapped its contents without removing a single stone, revealing child-sized coffins that scholars debated for years before deciding against physical intrusion. Sometimes the greatest respect we can show history is restraint, to listen to its whispers without demanding all its secrets at once. After all, every generation brings new questions and better tools. The stones have waited millennia. They can wait until we're truly ready to understand them. Even with ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR mapping our world inch by inch, some ancient fortresses cling to their secrets with stubborn resolve. Take Oak Island's infamous Money Pit, a labyrinth of flooded tunnels and booby-trapped shafts that swallowed fortunes and lives for over 200 years. Theories range from pirate gold to Templar relics, but the real mystery isn't just what's down there, it's why the builders went to such extraordinary lengths to hide it. The sheer complexity of the engineering, with its coconut fiber filters and intricately layered logs, suggests this wasn't just a stash but a statement. Whoever designed it didn't just want to conceal treasure, they wanted to prove it couldn't be found. Scotland's Stirling Castle offers a different kind of puzzle. Historical records describe a sprawling tunnel network connecting the fortress to nearby buildings, possibly even the town church. But despite centuries of searching, most remain lost. The few sections uncovered, like the cramped passage beneath the royal kitchens, only deepen the intrigue. Why build such an elaborate system, then meticulously seal its entrances? Some scholars believe these tunnels weren't just escape routes but clandestine corridors for political maneuvering, allowing nobles to move unseen during rebellions. Others speculate they hid something darker, like the rumored underground chapel where Mary, Queen of Scots, held forbidden Catholic masses. Then there are the whispers of entire chambers still waiting behind fortress walls. At Romania's Peel's Castle, restoration work in 2015 revealed a hidden door behind a wardrobe in King Carol's bedroom. Beyond it lay a perfectly preserved smoking room, its walls lined with leather and its ashtray still filled with century-old cigar ash, as if the king had just stepped out. If such spaces can evade detection in relatively modern castles, what might lurk in the thicker walls of medieval strongholds? The challenge isn't just technical, it's philosophical. Some secrets were meant to stay buried. Japan's Himeji Castle, for all its studied perfection, likely holds compartments known only to its original builders. The same craftsmen who engineered its nightingale floors took their most sensitive knowledge to the grave, following a tradition called hoken, where critical architectural secrets were passed orally to avoid records falling into enemy hands. Even today, repairs on such sites often rely on intuition as much as blueprints, with craftsmen tapping walls and listening for hollow echoes that betray hidden voids. Perhaps the most tantalizing enigmas are those hinted at in historical texts but never found. The Vatican's archives mention a map room beneath Malta's Grand Master's palace, said to hold navigational charts from the Knights Hospitaller's golden age. Spanish colonial logs describe a silver-lined tunnel beneath Mexico's Chapultepec Castle, used to spirit away treasures during revolutions. And then there's the enduring legend of Ivan the Terrible's lost library beneath the Moscow Kremlin, a trove of ancient manuscripts supposedly walled up to protect it from invaders. What keeps us searching isn't just the promise of gold or glory, it's the thrill of the unanswered. Every unexplored tunnel, every unbroken code is a conversation across time. The builders left clues in stone and parchment, daring us to think as they did. Maybe that's the real treasure, not what's hidden, but the act of seeking itself. After all, the greatest fortresses weren't designed to keep us out forever, just long enough to prove we were worthy of their secrets. You don't need to scale castle walls or dodge booby traps to uncover hidden history. Sometimes the most fascinating discoveries are waiting right in your own backyard. Local ruins, abandoned forts, or even repurposed historical buildings often hold overlooked secrets, from boarded-up staircases to forgotten storage tunnels. The key is knowing where to look and how to explore responsibly. Start with your nearest historical society or preservation group. Many maintain archives of blueprints and oral histories that reveal concealed features in plain sight, like the sealed-off servants' passages in that old courthouse downtown or the hidden coal chutes beneath a converted factory. Some societies even organize guided, behind-the-scenes tours, letting you walk routes once reserved for guards and servants. But before you grab a flashlight and start poking around, remember, adventure thrives on respect. Trespassing isn't just illegal, it's dangerous. Crumbling masonry, unstable floors, and hidden wells turn unsupervised exploration into a gamble. Instead, focus on accessible sites with public access. Those moss-covered cellar entrances in the town park, they might be remnants of a colonial powder magazine, now safely stabilized for visitors. That overgrown foundation near the river could be the footprint of a mill with a concealed flood tunnel, now part of a marked heritage trail. Even modern buildings sometimes preserve hidden relics, like the sealed-up speakeasy tunnel beneath a Chicago sandwich shop, or the Victorian-era vaults repurposed as wine cellars in London's financial district. For hands-on sleuthing, join a local archaeology volunteer program. Many digs welcome beginners to help document finds, from Civil War-era hideouts to Native American storage pits. Tools like the app Historica overlay old maps onto modern streets, revealing where forgotten alleys or demolished walls might still leave traces. And if you're itching to test your observation skills, try building reading. Study the brickwork on an old school or church. Irregular patterns or sudden shifts in materials often hint at sealed doorways or expanded sections. That odd protrusion on the library's east wall, it might be the ghost of a servant's stairwell bricked over during renovations. The thrill isn't in breaking rules, it's in noticing what others miss. Take the hobby of urban spelunking, where enthusiasts document storm drains and utility tunnels with historical significance, always with permission, of course. In Savannah, a group rediscovered a network of Prohibition-era smuggling tunnels by cross-referencing liquor licenses with plumbing records. In Boston, a librarian tracked down a Revolutionary War-era hideout by following a merchant's diary referencing a stone-lined cavity behind his shop, now a dentist's office with a very curious basement. True exploration isn't about conquering secrets, it's about collaborating with them. Chat with longtime residents. Their childhood stories might reveal the location of a boarded-up icehouse tunnel or the meaning behind that odd concrete patch in the alley. Share findings with local historians. Your photo of a strange carving could unlock a decades-old architectural mystery. And always document responsibly. Take photos, not artifacts. The real treasure isn't in pocketing a relic. It's in adding another piece to the puzzle, ensuring these hidden stories don't stay buried forever. After all, history isn't a locked door. It's a conversation, and sometimes all it takes is asking the right questions to hear the walls whisper back. The hidden corridors and chambers of ancient fortresses are more than architectural quirks, they're portals to the past. These spaces were built by people who understood that survival often depended on staying unseen, whether they were kings evading assassins, monks preserving sacred texts, or rebels plotting revolutions. Every time we uncover one of these secret passages, it's like finding a lost page from history, one that wasn't meant for the official records. Take the recent discovery of a concealed chapel in Spain's Alhambra, its walls still bearing faint traces of forbidden Christian icons painted during the Inquisition. Or the underground network beneath Rome's Colosseum, where gladiators and wild animals waited in shadow before their fateful entrance into the arena. These aren't just hidden rooms, they're silent witnesses to the fears, hopes, and cunning of those who came before us. What makes these discoveries so thrilling is how they force us to rethink what we thought we knew. For centuries, historians believed the winding staircases in Scotland's Dunottar Castle were purely decorative until someone noticed the wear patterns on the steps, revealing they'd been used to smuggle weapons during sieges. Similarly, the long-dismissed legends about treasure tunnels in India's Gwalior Fort turned out to be shockingly accurate when a collapsed wall exposed a hoard of gold coins and jeweled daggers. Each revelation chips away at the polished narratives we've been taught, reminding us that history isn't a static story, it's a living, breathing puzzle with pieces still missing. Technology is accelerating these discoveries at an unprecedented pace. Ground-penetrating radar can now map entire subterranean networks without disturbing a single stone, while AI analyzes centuries-old blueprints for inconsistencies that might hint at concealed chambers. In Austria's Hohenwürfen Castle, thermal imaging recently uncovered a forgotten armory behind what appeared to be solid rock, its weapons still neatly racked as if awaiting some long-past crisis. And with virtual reality, we can now step into these spaces as they once were, hearing how sound carries in a secret chapel or feeling the claustrophobic twist of an escape tunnel, experiences that bridge the gap between past and present like never before. Yet for all our advancements, the greatest discoveries often come from sheer curiosity. A child playing near a crumbling wall in Portugal's Sintra palaces noticed a draft where there shouldn't be one, leading to the unearthing of a Moorish-era water channel hidden for 800 years. A tour guide in Poland's Malbork Castle spotted an odd discoloration in the mortar, revealing a sealed knight's tomb beneath the floor. These moments remind us that the next great find could be waiting just beneath our feet, overlooked simply because no one thought to look closely enough. So what's next? As scanning technology becomes more accessible and global databases connect scattered clues, we're on the brink of uncovering secrets that have eluded us for millennia. Maybe it's the fabled library of Ivan the Terrible, rumored to lie beneath the Kremlin's foundations, or the lost tunnels of Malta's Knights Hospitaller, said to stretch beneath the Mediterranean itself. One thing's certain, the stones haven't given up all their stories yet. If you're as captivated by these mysteries as we are, hit subscribe, because history's greatest secrets are still waiting to be found, and the next revelation could be just around the corner. Drop a comment below if you've ever stumbled upon a hidden piece of the past, or if there's a fortress mystery you'd love us to explore next. The adventure is far from over.